Because when I take a look at a school system, for example, we talk about Thames Valley District School Board or Blue Water District School Board. You know, I go back to Owens and Valesky's definition or concept of any type of organization, and that's basically a social convention. It isn't concrete. You can't put your hand on it. So I'm not sure there is a distinction, but I can sense from my own experience that a school board is made up of a variety of parts, and the sum of parts is greater than the school board itself. So that in itself presents unique complications that I think are good for any organization, and that is because school systems are so complex that there's opportunities for dialogue and contributing to the direction of a school board by the stakeholders, and that it shouldn't be hierarchical. It should be more transformational, transitional in terms of leadership style. When you take a look at, again, Owens and Valesky, they talk about the need to understand the organization, to implement organizational change. And regardless if it's formal or informal, if you are being promoted from within, my experience has been being promoted from within Thames Valley, I understood the organization. I understood the different concepts. I understood the politics. I understood the communities. For a director coming in from outside, it's important for that director to take time to understand the organization, to learn about the organization, to develop a sense of the dynamics of the organization. I'd say in a healthy formal organizational structure, that type of informal influence would be healthy. There has to be a counterbalance. There has to be feedback loop, as we've discussed before. And done properly, the tensions that exist, and I'm not sure the word tension, well, yeah, tension would be an accurate description. The tensions that exist, if utilized properly and accepted in a manner that is invitational approach, can actually add to the health of the formal organization. Well, I go back to Marzano's article in terms of he would define schools as an informal organization and they're loosely structured. I would suggest that if the schools are in alignment with where the system's going as a whole, it doesn't matter from my vantage point that they might take a different approach to get to the same end product, as long as they're going to get to the same end product. That the principal in consultation with the community, in consultation with staff, consultation with students, can determine how they're going to get there. It may not be the way I would have recommended or suggested, but I know they're going to get there. And when you go to our school board with 150 schools, I think that's healthy. What a great way to learn from each other on different paths that can be taken to achieve student outcomes. Not only do they get to see ownership, but they see where their involvement is utilized. And my sense in terms of encouraging creative thinking and where do we get the most creative ideas, I would suggest that the closer an individual is to the classroom, the more opportunity they have. Or how do I phrase that? The closer an individual is to the classroom, I think, the greater the opportunity for generating those creative strategies. Part of the benefit of being a system leader is visiting hundreds of different classrooms across the system. For example, use of smart boards or technology. I have seen the same lesson taught half a dozen different ways because of creative approaches using technology or community resources or the use of field trips, the use of displays. It's incredible in terms of the lessons that we can take as a system that have been learned from a classroom teacher. I believe that organizations have the potential to dampen that when they lose connectivity to the classroom. In order to remain healthy, school boards need to adapt. Teachers need to adapt. We need to stay current. But if there's a separation between the ivory tower, I'll call it, in terms of the board office, and what's happening in the classroom, then I think you use the terminology, dampen. You're pouring water on fire. And I believe that the teachers in the school need to see that the director and the superintendents are open to their creative strategies. So that's why we meet with union members. That's why I meet with superintendents. That's why I meet with principals on an ongoing basis to ensure that lines of communication are still there. And the invitation to go see something happening, snap it up as soon as you can. I don't like the word conflict because it paints a different picture for me, but it's really important. I refer to a book Michael Fullan wrote, Leadership and Sustainability. And he talks about the role of system leaders and how to minimize the conflict, as you call it. And I'm going to step back and say the first thing that needs to occur is a reflection of what we talked about in terms of entry plans with staff. There has to be a communication to the system of where you're going and where we're going as a system. So that's the director's job. That's the superintendent's job. That's the principal's job, to make sure that everyone is aware of where we're going as a system. What's the system vision? What's the mission? What's the strategic goals? Because if we're all in agreement and we all understand where we're going as a system, and if the classroom teacher's intention is to pursue that direction as well, and there's alignment from the director's office all the way into the classroom, then there needs to be an openness in terms of flexibility and the innovator taking approaches that are going to create the conditions for enhanced student learning. And my job is to support. The principal's job is to support the innovator. But being an innovator also carries a responsibility to go back to the principal, go back to the superintendent, say, what are the confines upon which I can be innovative? What are the parameters? And when those are clearly communicated, go fly. Well, I'll say it without reservation. I think the ones closest to the student come up with the most creative strategies and ideas. And when you take a transformational leadership approach in terms of developing the team can develop the ideas. And I can't remember any great ideas I had individually, but I know a lot of great ideas that I was able to support and saw wonderful benefits for students. So I think, without reservation, the closer you are to the classroom, the closer you are to the school, the better opportunities you have for creative solutions. So, and there's a role for student leaders in education in a school. And I'm not just talking about student councils who organize dances, but there has to be a real foundation of student input. And in Ontario, the education systems have come a long way in terms of student trustees at the board office, and I've witnessed amazing contributions from student trustees in terms of the discussion and decisions made by trustees that impact students in the classroom. But we took a real chance. About 2 years ago, we hired some students who were street kids as a school system. And we hired about half a dozen of them over the summertime. And their job was to identify what's not working in the school board. And that is a huge risk because it exposes the school board's underbelly. Boy, did we hear some straight talking from those kids. But we were able to implement some amazing programs because of those students. Yep. That student voices weren't really being heard. Let me refine that. The right kind of student voices weren't being heard. And they organized a conference, a student voice conference themselves. And I was invited to it, as well as the superintendents. And, well, we have not only a school within a college, but we developed a school within a university program in partnership with the Faculty of Education here a couple of years ago in Western, where we had some kids who were at-risk students, fully capable of taking university courses. And the Faculty of Education here gave a classroom. The school board bought the school resources needed, textbooks, computers, And it's been a huge success. But you know what? We heard about that from kids on the street who said, just give us a break. We can do it. In fact, some of the students in that program got the highest marks in their first year courses on main campus. Well, one of the best lessons I ever learned as a school principal is working with a parent who, to be honest with you, was pretty critical of what we were doing in the school. Very critical, almost on a daily basis. And the best thing I did was brought her into the school and asked her to be part of the parent council. She had a forum for discussion and feedback, and she was provided with a window of things that were going on that she hadn't realized before. So I think you need to take a step back as a leader, and that empathy part comes into play, and you say, okay, what's driving that individual?